Chase Thomas podcast. My nephew needs me to record. See, I already hate it. I hate it.
All right, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Chase Thomas podcast, where I'm still the aforementioned Chase Thomas, coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee. Everything School HQ, just another top 10 program, kicking things off against Austin Peay over the weekend. 2-0 on the horizon, Florida a week away. You know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about those Tennessee Volunteers coming in at number 9 at many polls, and many folks just agreeing that they are a top 10 team once again. To talk all things Tennessee and only Tennessee on this very program, and maybe college football as a whole, fellow University of North Georgia alumni Matt Green. Matt, good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening, sir. Before we lose too many listeners, this is not just a strictly Tennessee podcast. We're talking about all college football here today, sir.
Mm-hmm. Well, it all runs through Tennessee. When you call it Everything School HQ, everything runs through the lens of the University of Tennessee, sir. I'm excited. What a week. It feels like last week was... You just had a little bit, you were able to get more attention. And I wonder, and this kind of can lead us into the Duke Clemson conversation. Like, if that happens Saturday at 3 or Saturday at noon, do we care as much? But because it was Monday night and all of America was watching Clemson implode in the second half late, we were like, oof, is this it? And all Tuesday was the Clemson takes, the death of Clemson. Everyone looking at Clemson. My group chat, in the family group chat, they were all pushing and like celebrating, because I have a lot of FSU alumni. My cousin Sam, shout out to cousin Sam. I got a lot of FSU folks in my family, all celebrating the death of Clemson. Florida State still goes to Clemson in a couple weeks. Clemson hasn't lost or hasn't won less than double-digit games in how long since Dabo Swinney has been?
2012?
Yes. They don't lose home games. They haven't lost a home game in 4 years, I think, is what it is about. Can we get it a couple more weeks? Can we see Florida State win at Clemson? Can we see Clemson lose a home game? Can we see, like, there's a degree where it's like, is Clemson done as a team that can win a title under Dabo at this point? Yes. Are they a team that can still make the playoff with Dabo? Yes. Are they still a team that can win 10, 11, walk into 10, 11 wins this year still? Yes. They can. I just feel like everything went so far one way. It reminded me of like the opposite of the Dion Colorado conversation, where it's like, can Colorado win the Pac-12?
You said you don't think they can win a title anymore, though. Is that what you said?
Don't. Yeah, I don't think so.
See, that's where I would push back. Like, I think they're not a dynasty. It's like Clemson was dynastic. Like, they were dynasty-ish, I guess. But there's this era that you can at least think of, and you know what you're talking about. I feel like that is over. Like, they could potentially, it's like we talked about Alabama, like them being the clear, just number one better than everybody else. Like, that is over. Like, that was a period of time. They can still be number one and win the championship this year, and then win another one 4 or 5 years from now, like, and just keep it going here and there. But the true dynasty is over, in my opinion. Clemson, this era, it just feels over because, for one, well, let's be honest, like, Dabo's approach is why all this talk is what it is. Because, like, he's under a lot of pressure right now because they were winning national championships, going to playoffs, and for 2 years in a row now they haven't. And this looks like now one game in, looks like a third year in a row. So it's being a victim of your own success that you built this program with championship expectations, and now they're not that. But he built this program. I don't feel like there's real hot seat talk. It's just he's under a lot of pressure right now. But come September 23rd, like you said, when Florida State comes to town, if Florida State beats them, like, heaven forbid they embarrass Clemson and just rout them in Death Valley, if something like that happens, it's like legitimate hot seat talk will start to come of this. Because it's like, this whole, you don't take guys from the portal and all that, and Clemson feels like they have a certain kind of character guy they get and all that. Like, they're selective. Like, fans don't care about that. Like, it was cool when we were winning championships, and honestly, I think all that stuff is kind of overblown anyway. It was always about getting elite players. Like, that's what the name of the game is, and maybe at the time in 2015 and 2016 and 2019 or 2018, they were getting those same guys that had the buy-in, that were high character guys or loved a university and were also elite talents. Like maybe you just had a solid run of that. But this whole like Clemson was never elite because Dabo Swinney is a good Christian man and he's just like a good character and all that. It was because they had elite players. Like, let's not get it twisted. And right now they just don't have that. Like they don't have like Will Shipley is the elite player on this offense, right? Like I don't see, he doesn't look like an NFL running back to me. Like he's a good player. And then these receivers are just, I don't know. Clemson was built on these elite receivers, on DeAndre Hopkins, on Mike Williams, on T. Higgins. Like we've just seen so many, Justin Ross. Like we've seen this team with so many elite receivers that can just win one-on-one matchups. And they don't look like they have that right now. Like I didn't think Cade Klubnik played poorly. It feels like he's kind of in a Bo Nix situation. I feel like that's who we compare every quarterback who runs for his life to. But I feel like I got some Bo Nix vibes watching Cade Klubnik play. Like this, he's got talent. He's athletic.
Will spin it downfield. Like Bo Nix is.
But who's he throwing to?
A lot bigger.
But I'm just saying, like this offense.
Clemson's yard per attempt was 4.9 yards per attempt through the air. That's good for behind San Diego State. It's like 121st out of 130 FBS teams this year.
But it's like when you saw Auburn play, a lot of people thought Bo Nix was trash. Like,
but I'm saying he had the cannon.
He had talent
I don't know if
and he was athletic.
Has the cannon.
I don't know either. It's still early, but in his career. But he didn't seem like the problem with the offense. It seemed like the offensive line, the lack of playmakers.
He felt like Garrett Gilbert at Texas to me.
No, I'd say he's a better athlete than Garrett Gilbert. But that's what I felt. I didn't feel like watching Klubnik. Like that's the crazy part. Like, do we all know DJ Uyunglele an apology right now? Like, it looks like he went to a better situation. Maybe he wasn't the problem at Clemson.
Yeah, and I looked it up. I forgot that the home game last year, they lost their streak to South Carolina to end the year. I forgot that was actually at Clemson.
Yeah.
I was thinking that was at South Carolina because Tennessee was, and I thought they won both those games at home. But that was their first home loss in 40 games. So they had won 40 straight. And also for the Clemson, like less than 10 win stat, they haven't won less than 10 games in the regular season since 2010. Dabo's second year.
Yeah, and there's some similarities with them in Alabama, like at different levels, because I feel like this is the season where like Clemson's dynasty's over, like Alabama's going downhill, like we've kind of talked about. But they both do have a lot of home games. A lot of these key games are at home. Like Clemson, I think they play North Carolina, Florida State, and Notre Dame, I want to say, at home this year. So there is that they're probably not going to lose all those games at home.
Yeah, and I think they're still going to sleepwalk worst case scenario into 9-3. And I also let's see what Garrett Riley looks like.
Yeah, but worst case scenario is the worst season in like 14 years. Like that's
what I'm saying. Worst case
terrible.
Scenario. I still think if I had to bet right now, I'm thinking 10-2 and 11-1 still in the regular season for me.
No, 11-1 is not on the. Do you think they're beating Florida State
yes,
after watching? Oh, see, I don't think there's any way. I think Florida State looks like clearly a better team than them right now.
Thursday, September 7th, 11:30 p.m. Matt Green has pronounced Clemson dead. Clemson fans watching this, they're not dead. They're still top 5 in overall team composite talent. The defense is still really strong. They still have Will Shipley. We'll see what happens with Cade. It's just the dude's out wide. They don't have anyone that scares you. Maybe that's part of the reason the yards per attempt are so low and everything else. But the ACC is weak as a whole this year, especially. And if they just beat Florida State at home, which I think they can very much do, they are going to walk into, at worst, 10-2. Probably.
See, but that's a huge if, because I think that's when the pressure is actually on them the most. Because I'm telling you, if they lose that Florida State game, that is going like there's times where there's casual takes that everyone has. It's like, okay, that's not completely true. That's going to be a casual take that is true. That everyone is going to be saying Florida State utilized the transfer portal. Why did we not utilize the transfer portal to get multiple starters? Like Alabama and Georgia recruit as good as anybody in this sport, and they'll go out and get Jamison Williams, get Jahmyr Gibbs. Georgia got Darian Kendrick out of the portal. Like, just insert a starter. Like, if Dominic Lovett this year, like if you're not doing that, like you're not doing everything that's needed to win championships. So if you just want to do that, like go coach at Newberry College or something, like that's not what it takes at Clemson. So I think if they lose to Florida State, like that's going to be the talking point just everywhere is that does Dabo Swinney, if he's not going to adapt, can Clemson continue to keep him and just continue to do what they're doing? Like I think you're in a losing situation, especially if we don't see any progress of this offense. Like I'm turning my back on Clemson. I had him in the playoff, like when we did our predictions like 2 weeks ago. I was thinking Garrett Riley is going to make a huge difference, and it's just one game, but 7 points against Duke. And obviously they didn't move the ball. They turned the ball over a lot. The blocked field goals too. Like it's a game they definitely could have won. I don't think 28-7 is really reflective of kind of how the game went. Like I feel like it was a close game into the third and fourth quarter, but just the way that if you turn the ball over like that, like you can lose to anybody.
For sure. It's week 1. I'm not going to overreact yet. I think they're on watch, but I will say too, it's on watch. Dabo retiring just straight up. Like I think we're now on Dabo retirement watch.
I could see it, honestly.
Like
he said as soon as the players got paid, he was out. So I don't know. Maybe he'll hold up to his word.
We shall see. But Clemson, we still got a couple weeks before we figure out for sure. Matt Green. Top 25 for week 2. What is your strongest reaction to the AP poll coming out this week with the latest and greatest?
I was a little surprised by the lack of overreaction in the first week. I was thinking Florida State was getting up there, like taking half the AP first place votes, like maybe
no
jump
one
up
thinks
to number
they're the
2.
best team. What?
But I'm saying they beat LSU in convincing fashion.
Sure.
Like it was a huge win in week 1. That's all I'm saying. You're taking the correct approach. I was just expecting like a lot more Florida State like bump. Like they got 3 first place votes. I guess I was a little surprised that Georgia still like kept like overwhelming. I was surprised like Alabama didn't start to get some first place votes, or that just kind of, just more options thrown in there. Still 58 first place votes, 2 for Michigan and 3 for Florida State. But also Colorado jumped into 22, Duke jumped up to 21. I wouldn't have been surprised if both of them jumped like top 15 or so, or into the top 10 or something, just out of the overreactions that we always see. But Clemson hanging on to 25 by a thread.
Colorado immediately in. I just kind of wonder where I'm like, I don't know. Are we sure Colorado is better than Arkansas right now? Are we sure they're better than not TCU?
They jumped A&M.
Yeah, like no, I don't know. But it's just you're just it just doesn't really matter. It's early in the season. I will say Ole Miss I thought would jump a little bit higher, and I thought Oklahoma would jump a little bit higher based on what we saw, because they're at 18th, and like North Carolina better win, but like Oklahoma looks pretty legit. Kansas State a little too high for me. And I think LSU probably should have dropped a little bit more based on how it went down. I think I'm not saying they fall out of the top 25. 14 was a little low for me. I think they should have dropped out further, but I also think the top 10, perfect. I don't know if I necessarily agree with where USC is, but by and large, I think the top 10 looks about right? Like that just looks like the 10 best teams before this weekend.
Yeah, I don't really disagree with it. I think Texas is definitely one that you can make an argument, but they're going to.
But who would you put in front of them right now? Notre Dame's look great.
I mean, you could argue that Texas is better than Tennessee or Washington, but I mean, you're splitting hairs at this point. Texas is going to prove it this week. Like Texas is either going to. I mean, I guess they're not going to drop too far if they lose to Alabama, but. If they beat Alabama, I mean, that's the number 1 story of the weekend, and Texas is into the top 5. Like they might go to number 1, honestly, with how people love Texas. But if they beat Alabama in Bryant-Denny Stadium, the hype might be worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait. So I'm not going to the Austin Peay Tennessee game because Tennessee Austin Peay is at 5, and Texas Alabama is at 7. And I'm like,
it's at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, it's a weird,
strange.
It was a
game
nooner.
time.
I'm there. If it was a nooner, I'm there. But I just, for Austin Peay, I can't do it. I need to watch this game. I need to watch from the beginning. I need to be.
You just go for the first half and then just dip out, right? It's Austin Peay.
I can get caught up in traffic though, because a lot of people are going to follow that, and I don't want to risk it. I just want to be cozy watching Bama Texas at 7. I don't want to. It's Austin Peay.
Yeah,
I'm
for
good.
sure. This is arguably like game of the year, I think, in just terms of off-season anticipation. Like, this is the game that everyone's wanted to see.
I was telling Sam, I was like, she was like, what's the one? And I'm like, no, like whatever you want to do on Saturday night, like I know where I am going to be. Like this is there might not be a better college football game this year than this one, just because of the stakes here. Like, is Texas back? And they almost beat them last year. And like, we're gonna get into why it's just such a monumental game in the sport, but I don't know. Like, I'm just very, very amped for Texas Bama at 7. Why do you want to do this, by the way, before we get into our week 2 picks, Matt Green? Why do you want me to say that I'm not a Joe Milton guy and that I hate all the QBs?
No, I'm just we're just flapping our gums there pre-show. They don't hate all the QBs, but I seeing some of the social media interaction on some of our content here. I was a little surprised, I will say, on our conversation last week that you didn't seem too high on Joe Milton and his performance versus Virginia. And I think the Tennessee fans think you've lost your way.
Tennessee really likes him right now. I mean, they were 88th in their passing offense right now. 212 yards total here. He completed 70% of his passes. And you can go back and listen to it. I'm not overly critical of Joe. My whole thing is like, we're not going to learn what Joe is until Florida. Like, we'll see what it's like on the road in a high pressure environment. I don't care what Florida is at this point. Like, that's going to be a big, big test for Joe Milton. I want to see what he looks like. The receivers were all discombobulated. Like, obviously, you missed the big Ramel drop that everyone's pointed out. It's like, if he hits that 70-yard bomb, then everyone's is fine with it. I'm like, no, because the quick drive that went in and out, and that the 4 straight punts for Tennessee were huge in the first half. And what I also said was like, he's just not the best player on offense this year. It's Jalen Wright, which is fine. Like, I'm not saying the offense is going to be bad and that Joe's a train wreck. Joe's fine. What I am saying is there's just the expectations for Joe don't match up to what we're seeing. And it's just kind of like, hey, he did a lot of side-to-side stuff. He was hitting Squirrel White close to the line of scrimmage a bunch, a lot of screens, a lot of stuff to the halfback, tight end close. McAllen Castles was close and got a 16-yard after the catch play. But, like, we didn't see him air it out, and the defense made him keep things in front of him, which I get. That's all fair. He had a couple drop picks, and if you go to PFF, he had 3 turnover-worthy throws in this game. Joe was fine. But what I'm saying is, like, Jalen Wright's the story. He's averaging 10 yards a carry. Like, Jalen Wright is a dude. That is what I'm saying. That's the takeaway. That's a positive, that Tennessee is going to run the ball down your throats. And then when the teams are tired of you doing that, then Joe will have the opportunity again to air it out that Hendon Hooker was doing all of last year. What I'm saying is he's, not as good as Hendon Hooker. That is very evident. And that's okay. You can still be a 10-win team and not be as good as Hendon Hooker. What I am saying is just, Joe's fine. Like, Joe's a B-. Hendon Hooker was an A-. Nico's probably an A+ next year. Like, it's okay to be like, all right, it's okay. Just, it's fine. Like, he's not bad. I'm not saying he's a D. People just hear that and they're like, F, you hate Joe Milton. You think sucks. I'm like, Joe's fine. He's good enough for what they need this year in this transition year.
You know what I think
B-.
it is? I think you're a big first quarter guy. And Tennessee didn't get off to a quick start necessarily in the first. The offense kind of, they got stopped on that 4th down early on. Like, it wasn't smooth necessarily the most of the first half.
Yeah.
But they did get it together, like 21-30, like 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks.
It was just clunky. Can I see more? Can I see him not clunky to
be honest, the athletic ability is what I was kind of most impressed with, because I don't know that he has that in him. And it's Virginia. Maybe he's not worried about getting hit too hard by anyone on their defense. But that's the biggest question I have, is if he's just a statue in the pocket, because I feel like that's kind of what he's been in his career to this point. So if he seems like there's certain quarterbacks that me and my brother were talking about this week. There's just like, they have athletic ability, but they don't necessarily have like the mentality to run. And like, I was kind of weird. The comparison we came up with for Joe Milton was kind of like Jamarcus Russell. And that just sounds disrespectful because of what he was in the NFL. But think about what he was in college. He was obviously really good at LSU, and he was a first overall pick, but he kind of had some athletic ability, but more importantly, he just had a rocket arm, and he had a little bit of something if you disrespected his mobility. He had like a game-winning like a tight touchdown run to beat Tennessee one year, right? When he was in college, I feel like I have visions of like him like putting the ball over the pylon or something like that last second. It was like probably 2006, 2005. But yeah, I feel like there's a lot of similarities. I mean, all they talked about was that Jamarcus Russell could throw it 70 yards from one knee or whatever. Like, I'm sure he threw it 90 at some point. Joe Milton everyone loves to talk about he throws it 90 yards. And it's like, this is already getting on Jake Fromm Little League World Series level.
Well, he got in like he missed a couple throws. He was still throwing some heat on some stuff he does not need to throw gas on. So that will continue to get better. He's just like, he's fine right now. Let me see Florida, and then I will readdress how I feel about Joe Milton. Let me see what happens in the swamp, folks. Can we get there? Can we see what happens? But also,
that's true. Is that week 3? Week 4?
Week 3.
That's next
weekend.
Next week. Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh. Always excited for Tennessee, Florida.
Yeah. Then South Carolina not long after that. Tennessee's got a little fun streak here coming up.
Georgia's got a nice little preseason NFL schedule before they actually ramp things up.
When is South Carolina? Is that week 4 or 5?
That is week 3. So I'm disrespecting the Gamecocks. That's next week also.
Okay, well, that's good. Well, Matt Green, we have a week 2 pick'em to get into here. Would you like to refresh the listeners where the champion of 2022 and currently the leader and most likely the betting favorite to be the champion back-to-back on this very pick'em show here, Matt Green? How is it looking going into week 2?
The person who won overall pick'em by 1 game last year,
yes,
that would be you. You went 8-3 overall in week 1. I went 6-5 overall. Not great. You went 7-4 against the spread, and I went 5-6 against the spread. So Zeus did get his home dog of the week. He didn't pick the Duke Blue Devils. That was definitely the pick right there. But the Indiana Hoosiers, they covered that big spread. So Zeus is 1-0 on the season.
Okay, I like it. Matt Green, where are we going first?
We are going to our college game day, game of the week, game of the season, like we just alluded to. Texas Longhorns. This was a doozy last year. Go on the road. Alabama Crimson Tide are a 7-point favorite at home. How do you see this game going?
What
are you most excited about for this game?
What am I most excited about? I want to see, I think people have kind of already started changing their perspective based on Bama blowing out Middle Tennessee and Rice and JT Daniels giving Texas some problems. Milroe, I'm excited to see what he looks like against this Texas front. I'm excited to see what a full, fingers crossed, game of Quinn Ewers versus this Bama defense looks like. I think there's just so many different things. Like, Bama didn't turn the ball over last week. I wonder if that continues this week. Milroe led Bama in rushing last week. Is that something that continues? Are they banking on Milroe being a do-it-all kind of guy? Can he take that kind of beating in a physical game like Texas? Ewers last year before he went out, 9-12, as we alluded to this offseason. How does that game go and how does that change the season? Xavier Worthy was awesome. There's more talent. Your guy, A.D. Mitchell, in there. There's just a lot of dudes on this Texas offense surrounding Quinn Ewers. And CJ Baxter, big-time recruit. I'm very curious to see what he looks like. I mean, Texas has got the better wideouts to scarier playmakers. They're deeper in a lot of areas. I'm curious. Last year, 12 penalties for Alabama in that game. It was kind of a mess. They were really, really lucky to get out of there with a win even after Quinn Ewers was knocked out. The thing I'm most interested in is it kind of goes back to the Dabo and Clemson thing. They just don't lose at home very much. So as excited as I am about this game, if you're a Texas fan, you're like, man, I wish we got this one at home this year. And last year was the one at Alabama. Because, look, 104-8. That is Nick Saban's record at Bryant-Denny as Alabama's head coach. And those 8 defeats
not bad
that he has, I found this online. His 8 defeats, grand total of 37 points or 4.6 points per loss. So when he does lose at home, it's very, very close. And they don't happen often, Matt Green. So my biggest thing, though, the thing that I'm most curious and what I hope happens is I want to see what Bama looks like if they're in a hole. I want to see what Milroe looks like if they go down 17-10, 17-3. Like, if they have a couple turnovers, if they get caught up in a mess and Texas punches them in the face right out of the gate here, I want to see how this Alabama team responds. I want to see how this offense responds. I want to see what Tommy Rees and Milroe and company look like. What do the wide receivers look like when they have to pass the ball, when they're taken out of their game plan? Like, I want to see more than anything Bama on the ropes, and that's what I'm looking for. Is what I'm hoping is. I don't know if that means that Bama loses, but I just want to see Bama in a hole more than anything. I want to see what that looks like for them.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm glad you said like when they have to pass, because that's the one thing. Well, for one, we don't learn hardly anything from these cupcake games, but just taking the Middle Tennessee State game at face value, like this joyless murder ball that they're going to play, it's like they had 200 yards rushing on Middle Tennessee, like five yards a carry. Jalen Milroe was the leading rusher, 7 carries for 48 yards. Like, that wasn't the joyless murder ball. Like, one of those is a botched snap that this guy's just the best athlete on the field and he just ran for 25, 30 yards or whatever. Like, Jace McClellan was 10 for 39. Like, Roydell Williams, 7 for 36. Like, that's fine. But, like, this is MTSU. Like, you're supposed to be joyless murder ball, like, mowing these teams down, like run blocking, road graders or whatever, right? So that's the one thing I kind of take. Like, Texas has a pretty good run defense. I mean, I think they're gonna have a pretty good run defense this year.
Not
so
just
like
pretty good. They only allowed 1 yard per carry last week against Rice.
For sure, it's still Rice. So I mean, it's hard to know. But yeah, I think they're definitely gonna be one of the better run defenses. So
Bama's gonna have to pass.
And I think if it becomes a shootout, because you said what, eight home losses?
Yes.
Right off the top of my head, I'm thinking of 3 Heisman Trophy winners that did it. It's like Cam Newton, Johnny Manziel, Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it takes. Quinn Ewers, like, is Quinn Ewers our Heisman Trophy winner in 2023? Like, is he that guy? Like, is he put his team on his back? Like, and just have his Joe Burrow
Maybe
kind
Xavier
of
Worthy
moment?
has like a 200+ yard game, like a Marvin Harrison type game for them.
For sure. And with Xavier Worthy and A.D. Mitchell and
Jordan
Isaiah
Whittington.
Nair, like, I've just heard so much hype about this Alabama defense that, like, I really don't think they have the guys to just match up in the secondary with Texas's wide receivers. Like, I don't know. Like, I just saw these two teams play a year ago, and I know, blanking on Battle. Jordan Battle is a starter from that team that's gone. Like, Caleb Downs, he could be a potential superstar, but this guy is playing essentially his first college game against Texas. Like, whatever, Middle Tennessee State counted, you got on the field, but this is going to be a completely different level of football. So this guy, I guarantee Steve Sarkisian is going to do something to fool a true freshman safety at some point in the game. You know, like, you honestly can't convince me that Texas hasn't just been preparing for Alabama the entire offseason. Like, who do we play? Rice? Like, that's just another scrimmage on our way to the Alabama game. So I think Texas has obviously had this game circled. Sarkisian is one of the best offensive minds in college football. Like, and just on top of the talent that this offense has, like, I think I have to take Texas in this one. I think last year, like you said, like they would be nice if this was the year they got Alabama at home. I think last year was a confidence builder. I think last year showed, like, we can play with these guys, and I think they're better than they were a year ago. And I think the number one story out of this weekend is going to be Texas is back. Whether they are or not, that's going to be the story.
Are you ready to make our picks here?
Yeah, man, that's it. That's my Texas pick. I'm on the board.
Hold on, you're doing it.
Yeah, they're beating Alabama. They're going into Bryant-Denny. I don't know. I'm not calling my shot that Ewers is another Heisman Trophy winner, but I just think this offense is too much. I think this is going to become a shootout, and Alabama does not have the offensive weapons, the firepower. And I think if Jalen Milroe's he looked really good throwing the ball, but if he's having to throw the ball a lot, there's going to be some turnovers. And I think this Texas offense is just, I think they're just better.
I'm not there.
Ooh.
I don't want to be right here. I want to see Alabama go down here.
You're predicting the 8-4, right? That they're firing Saban. It's got to start somewhere, right? Or Saban's retiring.
I want to see it happen. I don't think it's going to happen here. It's not this Texas school that beats Alabama. It's one they'll play in a couple weeks.
So what is
Alabama Crimson Tide.
Do you think your opinion was changed by week 1?
I think I didn't like what I saw from Texas. Still a little too clunky for me. I don't like the history of Bama at home. Like, that kind of scares me. Like you said, like, it takes that Heisman type. I just don't know if Quinn Ewers is that guy. Like, I don't know if we're going to see that version of him in this game really step up. I think about the TCU game last year, where that was a big moment for Quinn Ewers and company, and they really went into a shell. That was not a good look for Texas against TCU. And you're like, well, that was TCU. They were in the CFP. Well, yeah, that's what we're looking at here. Bama is a CFP contender. Like, this is one of those kind of moments. I'm just not there. I can't do it yet. I think Bama and Texas are going to both fall in the mud. I think this offense looks a lot more human, a lot more limited than what we saw against Middle Tennessee State last week. I think it's going to be close. I just don't think Texas ultimately pulls it out. And I think it might be a really dumb ending where Texas just fumbles it away or something crazy in a very Texas-like way. I'm going to say Alabama beats Texas 27-23.
27. Okay, so you're taking Texas with the points.
Yes.
Okay. I know. Texas is going to win outright, sir.
Where are we going next?
Next, at noon on Saturday, we got the Fighting Irish going on the road. We got a home dog, the NC State Wolfpack, 7.5-point dog at home. How do you see this game going?
Notre Dame's legit, and I think people need to understand that, like, Notre Dame's coming, and a lot of the Southeastern Conference fans are not going to like this. But Notre Dame is... I can't wait for Notre Dame USC, because right now I've got that Notre Dame over USC pick locked and loaded, ready for this, because I think Sam Hartman's legit, best quarterback they've had in South Bend in a really long time. He doesn't even have to really do a whole lot. He's just kind of coasting at this point. NC State barely survived against UConn. You can make the case they should have lost this game. 7.5 is actually pretty friendly for the Wolfpack. The thing is, their defense is loaded. They have NFL dudes on this defense. I think the defense is going to be really strong by and large in this game. So I think this could be a little bit ugly, but Audric Estime is a guy. And Notre Dame is just so loaded. That's the thing I jotted down like through the first 2 weeks of Notre Dame football. They have so many running backs. They are a run-first team, and Sam Hartman will air it out when he needs to, but I think they're going to run it down NC State's throat. NC State, 121st in yards per carry on defense. They got gashed by UConn last week, over 6 yards per carry. I think this is the Audric Estime game. And if you're asking me to pick Brennan Armstrong for Sam Hartman, can't do it. My favorite stat about Notre Dame through 2 weeks, though, 14 of 18 on third down. Great third down team, top 5 in the country right now. I like that. If you're able to convert third down, especially on the road, goes a long way. Give me Notre Dame to win and cover something like 30 to 13. I don't think NC State's very good this year. I'm selling all my NC State stock.
I was going to say the same thing. Like that UConn game, like they just look pretty ugly. I feel like Notre Dame is just, like you said, Sam Hartman is just, he's the best quarterback they've had in, I don't know, a decade plus. Like, so this team, this looks like just a really solid team. He's completing 83% of his passes right now, 6 touchdowns, no picks. Yeah, Notre Dame seems like an easy win here.
All right. Where are we going next, Matt Green?
Next on our pick'em, we are going to the hottest team in college football, renewing a rivalry. The Colorado Buffaloes.
Sam Hartman again. Okay, good. That's where
That's the hottest quarterback in college football, but the hottest team in college football, and debatably a hotter quarterback, Shedeur Sanders. Or we've gotten off the looks.
Good looking guy.
Yeah, he's a good looking guy in his own right. Nebraska, 3.5-point dog on the road at Colorado. This is our big noon kickoff. Joel Klatt and Gus Johnson just going to do every Colorado game this year, I guess. They got great ratings, so keep doing what they're doing. But at this point, man, I'm not picking against Dion. I'm not picking against Coach Prime. He's gonna call me out personally if I pick against Colorado. So I'm jumping on the bandwagon of the Buffs. Not necessarily full all the way, but Nebraska's not a good team either. So I think Colorado keeps it rolling. So give me Colorado to win and cover.
First of all, I'm excited that we have good Colorado, Nebraska to talk about. Like this, I've missed this game. I grew up on Chris Brown running all over and ruining Nebraska's season.
Bobby Purify.
Yeah, like that was a good time. So I'm glad this game is back in my life, first and foremost. I'm excited. My eyes will be glued to this. Colorado being good. It's good for the sport. All eyeballs are there. I'm excited to see what it looks like. That being said, Nebraska's defense is stingy. You go back and watch Minnesota. I understand Minnesota. Rough offense. Matt Rule knows defense. I'm not sure about Marcus Satterfield and that offense over there in Lincoln, Nebraska. Some South Carolina fans have some thoughts on Marcus Satterfield. That being said, I think this is going to be ugly. Like you saw the high scoring, just back and forth affair from TCU and Colorado a week ago. That TCU defense has problems. I don't think this Nebraska defense, a lot of your guys, a lot of Georgia transfers wound up at Nebraska. There's like a little transfer pipeline for Georgia guys who don't work out. They go to Nebraska.
Not so great right now.
But Matt Green, Nebraska 17th in yards per attempt through the air defensively. Shador Sanders threw for over 500 yards. Jeff Sims ran all over Minnesota, 19 carries for 91 yards a week ago. I think this is going to be a good bounce back game for Sims. I think it's going to be a good bounce back game for Nebraska. Minnesota sneaky has the top 10 defense in the sport. They had it the last 2 years. It's a really good one again. Colorado's defense is not good. TCU was able to do whatever they wanted against this Colorado defense. I don't think this is going to be the track meet. I saw that over under at like 66 for this game, total points. I go under. I'll be surprised if it's over. I think you're looking at Nebraska in a nice bounce back win where everything is coming up Colorado at this point. 70s in points in air yards defensively through the first week. They have given up the most points of any team in the Pac-12. Colorado had their share of 50, 40, 60, 70-yard plays. They had their big plays. Nebraska's not giving them up. I think they're a big play offense. I think what Sean Kelly's trying to do is they're going big. They're going big or going home. I don't think Nebraska's going to give those up in this game. I think Nebraska's defense is solid. I have questions about Satterfield and Jeff Sims. This is going to be ugly. This is going to be ball control. I think this is going to be one of those, oh, hold on. Colorado is not close to winning the Pac-12. Colorado might make a bowl game, but let's take a step back. They're going to be fun each week. But this is a very different defense than what they played a week ago. It's at home. That helps a lot. But there's a reason this line's only at 3. That Colorado, it's basically a toss-up at this point. And I'm going to go Nebraska wins outright 24-21 Nebraska.
Wow. Yeah, Nebraska turned it over 4 times last week. So I just, Colorado has the vibe of like maybe like a USC type of defense a year ago that like, they're going to give up a lot of big plays, but then they're going to get some turnovers and they're going to jump some routes. Like their defense is they're just going to make things happen. And so I don't know. I question Jeff Sims in this offense for sure, but you're picking against Dion and you know, that's on you because he's going to call you out personally for it.
I love
Not
Dion.
me though. Not me.
I like Nebraska here. Also, who are you picking? You didn't say.
Yeah, I said I'm picking Colorado. I'm not picking against Prime. Score? Oh, I haven't been given scores, but give me like a 31-17.
Oh, kind of convincing one for Colorado.
Yeah, I think Colorado takes care of business in this one.
All right. Where are we going next?
By the way, my Texas-Alabama score, didn't throw it out there. 34-24. Wow. Multiple scores. Texas wins by multiple scores. Throwing it out there.
Twitter will be a fun time at that point if
we'll see.
Texas
We'll see what
wins by
happens.
double digits here.
Excuse me, keeping it moving. One of the sneakiest games of the weekend. Tulane Super Bowl is on Saturday, sir. This is kind of like Cincinnati's game with Notre Dame a couple years ago, right? Ole Miss, a little different because Ole Miss isn't necessarily Notre Dame, but Ole Miss is going on the road at Tulane and the Green Wave is a 7.5-point home dog in this one. How do you see this game going?
This is going to be good. I'm glad it's a sellout. I saw that. And Tulane was in their advertising in that picture on Twitter. I saw that they had like Ole Miss logo in green. Nice touch here. And this is turning into a sneaky rivalry. Like I've been pushing for Tulane to take over the Vanderbilt spot in the SEC. When we're like, let's kick them out. Let's put them in there. Let's get Tulane back in the SEC.
Tulane LSU rivalry. That'd be healthy.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Like who says no to Tulane back in the SEC?
I mean, that's true. We got a Alabama in-state rivalry, a Mississippi in-state rivalry, a Louisiana one. I'm here for it.
Enough talent to go around. I think it'd be fun. Ole Miss sneaky had a great first week. Jackson Dart looked electric, like a totally different quarterback for the Rebs. And I'm drinking a lot of Kool-Aid here for Lane Kiffin's bunch. Top 4 PFF offense last week. He completed 70% of his throws, 6 TDs. I think it was the sneaky best showing of any offense in the SEC in week 1. Tulane, right out of the gate, 62nd in pass defense. I think Ole Miss is going to light them up. I think this is going to be a statement game. I think this Ole Miss team looks different. This Ole Miss team feels like a 9-3 type year for Ole Miss. I'm buying a lot of Ole Miss stock here. Give me the Rebs to both win and cover significantly. I think this is going to be Ole Miss 37, Tulane 20.
I just the only thing I hope for this game is that Ole Miss has a better uniform combination with their opponent. I don't know if you watched the Ole Miss last week. Who did they play? I don't even remember who it was.
I have to go back.
Worst highlights I've ever seen in my life. Ole Miss is rocking white helmets, red jerseys, white pants. Whoever they're playing is rocking white helmets, white jerseys, red pants. It looked like a scrimmage. Terrible. They have so many options. Grinds my gears. Should have been rocking navy, whatever it is. So that's the first thing I'm going to say about Ole Miss. Second thing I'm going to say about this game, I'm not with you on buying Ole Miss's stock necessarily for this season, but Tulane had the 71st ranked run defense in the country last year, and that was a really good Tulane team. You know what Ole Miss wants to do. Quinshon Judkins, maybe the best running back in the SEC, second best in my personal opinion. They're going to run the ball, and like you said, Jackson Dart, I hear he's improved. You heard a lot of the great practice talk that everyone loves to say. Best shape of his life. Never felt better. All the good stuff. But he looked better last week, and I think I might be buying it. And I'm with you. I'm going to take Ole Miss to win and cover.
It was Mercer, by the way, last week.
Mercer, there you go. I thought Mercer was orange. Looked pretty reddish orange, the pants they were rocking. But, yeah, it was a terrible, one of the worst uni matchups you'll see.
Tulane's best linebacker will not be in this game available. Corey Platt, who had 15 tackles last week for them.
Yeah, and there you go. Even add that on there too. Like I just don't see them stopping this Ole Miss run offense. And then if Jackson Dart is improved and this adds a more dangerous passing element to this offense, they're going to be tough to stop for anyone in the SEC. Much less Tulane. So this is their Super Bowl. So it could be a close one for a while, but I think Tulane, the 7.5 does make me worry a little bit. It's got to be by 2 scores, but I think Ole Miss can get that done. Did you pick a score for this game?
Yeah, I said 37-20.
37-20. Okay, you're saying easily. Give me like a 34-24 for this one. Is that the same score I just picked for Texas, Alabama?
Yeah,
it could happen.
Get him out of here.
Whatever. You put me on the spot with these scores.
You're the one who just okay. Arch Manning and Deuce McAllister are going to be in attendance here. So there you go.
Oh, is that right? So who are they rooting for?
I'm going to guess Tulane because they're local.
I guess, but they're not.
Well, Archie went to Ole Miss, didn't he?
Oh yeah, Deuce. Oh yeah, they're
Deuce
Ole
did.
Miss.
Yeah,
they're
what am I
both
saying?
Ole Miss guys.
What
What
am
are you
I
talking about?
I'm thinking Saints.
Yeah,
for both
he
of
was
them.
New
What's weird?
Orleans.
I'm thinking them both Saints.
That's a good call. Yeah, they're rooting for Ole Miss in this one. Safe to say, Deuce McAllister. Also, I skipped over this one. Utah at Baylor. The Baylor Bears coming off the upset loss to Texas State, where apparently TJ Finley is good now. Baylor's
I love that story, by the way. I love the transfer story of like the guy. Like I wish JT balled out this year for Rice. Like because like people who hate the transfer, like the guys who make fun of these quarterbacks who transfer multiple times. I think he's just like the journeyman quarterback in the NFL, where it's kind of cool to see like a Case Keenum pop at Minnesota at the end of his career, where he's like now he's on an NFC title run in his 9th team. Like I actually don't mind it with the quarterbacks. Like I think it's kind of cool if a quarterback bounces around and then he finally finds the right fit. His final year, like Jack Plummer wins like 12 games this year for Louisville out of nowhere on his 19th team. I'm actually okay with it. TJ Finley being awesome at Texas Tech is great. Love that.
Well, I think that's why the rule was always if you went down a classification, you didn't have to sit out because you're just like, well, you can't play at this level, so you're just moved down to the appropriate level. So yeah, to have success and beat a Power 5 team, that was big time. So I'm looking at Utah Baylor, and like part of you wants to overreact to them losing to Texas State, you know, and Utah just beat Florida, but we don't know how good that Florida team is necessarily. It feels like this is like an opportunity for a letdown, honestly. Like it's gonna be your classic Big 12 matchup of Utah and Baylor. I'm gonna take Utah to win, but I think Baylor keeps it close. Like I think this is like they escape with a win, so like a 31-30 kind of thing. Like I think this is gonna be a close game. So give me Utah to win, but Baylor to cover.
Wow, Cam Rising maybe a go, maybe not. I wonder, but I'm also not that concerned based on what we saw from Barnes and the.
They don't need a quarterback.
Yeah. They really don't. They could just play whoever, and they're just. I think Aranda said, "Yeah, here it is." They have the ability with all three of them to run the quarterback. So I mean, it doesn't really matter who it is, but it does seem like it sucks for Baylor to have to prepare for 3 quarterbacks this week, right? Because you don't know if it's Cam, and then if it's not Cam, then they're going to play both if Cam's not ready to go. So it's got to be really difficult to prepare for Utah at this moment. But the Utah we saw last week was quite good. And another force to be reckoned with. I think Baylor's got real problems. Like, yeah, it's cool that TJ Finley had this kind of showing for Texas State, but like 440 yards, Texas State. This defense looks like it's a problem for Baylor. And Utah's just so well coached. And I understand it's a road game here, and it will be rocking. It's suddenly a sneaky big game for Baylor. Dave Aranda it's not like they had this great follow-up year to making the Big 12 title game 2 years ago. I don't know. Blake Shapen being out is a tough blow because he actually was pretty solid in that first game. They're 29th in passing offense. So to this point, so I don't know. Like I went back and forth on this, Matt Green, because I could see Baylor winning this game. The line's down to 8. The over/under is 47. I think this is going to be low scoring and ugly. I just don't think this is where Utah gets tripped up. Utah's going to get tripped up once or twice this year in the regular season, but I don't think it's here. But I do think Baylor covers. So give me Utah 24, Baylor 21.
There we go. And moving on to Iowa and Iowa State. The battle for the Cy-Hawk Trophy. Cyclones are a 4-point home dog this week, sir, and a lot of weird stuff, a lot of turmoil, a lot of negativity around this program right now.
Which one are you talking about? One's lost like a third of the roster to gambling violations, and one is just can't score 25 points a game. Which one are you talking about?
I'm referring to the one that seems to have another player every week get in trouble for gambling. But I just don't trust Iowa. So I feel like this is a weird rivalry. Iowa State won last year. I think it was like 7 in a row that Iowa had won before that. And I think I'm gonna trust the home atmosphere. They're gonna rally around the negativity, and Iowa's not gonna score more than 21 points in this game, so it's doable. Maybe you get a return, you get a special teams touchdown or something. But this is a weird rivalry that like you usually don't need more than 2 touchdowns to win this game, which does bode well for Iowa because they're not good at scoring more than 2 touchdowns. But what was this? Was this 10-7, I want to say, last year? Iowa State won this one.
They won for the first time in a long time last year.
It was like 6 or 7 in a row, I think. I had it.
Iowa had won 6 straight before last year.
So it was on the road. Now they're coming back into Ames. So I don't have a lot to base it on. Iowa State has, they fine last week. Who was it? Northern Iowa they played. But yeah, this is a weird game, and I don't trust Iowa to go on the road and put up any points. So give me Iowa State like 13-9 or something like that.
We disagree again. Iowa, this is going to be gross. I mean, unfortunately for all those in attendance, you get a bunch of, it's not going to be a fun hang, I don't think, with all the presidential candidates who are being announced appearing at this game. So that's tough nonetheless. But when I look at this game, Matt Green, I think slop city here. Iowa State has the worst Big 12 passing offense through the first week of the college football season. Iowa, if you go through their offensive numbers across the Big 10, near the bottom in just about every category. We talked about Iowa had won 6 in a row in this series last year, before losing last year. They couldn't even outgain Utah State, and they won 24-14. They had less than 300 yards of total offense. They had 250 for Iowa State in that one, which was more than Northern Iowa. I don't think you're going to see a lot of points. I don't think you're going to see a lot of yards. I don't know. I think this is going to be low scoring, ugly, but I somehow don't think Iowa State's going to be able to outscore Iowa, which is such a weird thing to say out loud. And I also picked Iowa to go 11-1, 10-2 type season and make the Big Ten title game. So I got to stick with the Hawkeyes here to pull out the dub. I'm going to say Iowa 17, Iowa State 3.
Oh, wow. It's a nice defensive display from the Hawkeyes. Also forgot to shout it out. This is the home dog of the week. There's a lot of home dog options, but this is the home dog that you want. And not to call Tori out. I hope she doesn't hate me for saying this. She didn't even know what the home dog of the week meant until earlier today. We've been doing this for like 3 years, Zeus being the home dog of the week.
What did she think it meant?
She did not even know that it meant a team that was the underdog at home.
Hold on. What did she think it meant then? That's what I want to know. What's the alternative here?
I forgot. I'll have to ask her. I forgot to clarify what she even thought it meant. I don't know. Maybe that was an excuse just to take pictures of Zeus. But
I have so many questions now, like what she thought home dog of the week was.
Home dog of the week, the team
because
that is
we're
at
taking
home.
Teams. Like there's guys, there's name. Like I just want to know what I don't. I have so many follow-up questions to this.
That's true. I didn't give you enough information. I'll have to follow up with you.
Report back, Matt Green.
I calling her out for sure. So I don't want. She won the pick'em last year of our group pick'em, and she doesn't even know what the home dog is. So whatever, just trust her process. It's working for her. But I had to throw that out there.
That's funny. Matt Green, where are we going next?
Keeping it moving. 6:00 on ESPN Plus. We got SMU and Oklahoma. Oklahoma's a 16.5 point favorite in this one. My guy Josh Pate really steered me wrong last week, and I think he's mentioned something on his pod this week. I think people were hitting up his DMs because of his Arkansas State Oklahoma pick a week ago. It was like a 36-point spread. I think it was 35-0 like 2 minutes into the second quarter or so that I was watching. I was like, okay, I'm going to give up on this one. I don't know what it ended up being, like 73?
Yeah, it was 73-0, I think.
0.
0.
Yeah, but Oklahoma, they looked like Oklahoma. Like big plays in special teams, big plays in the passing game, just like effortlessly making 50-yard plays. Like that's what we're used to seeing with this Oklahoma offense. And like it was just, who was it? Arkansas State. Not exactly a juggernaut, but I just I think this is the year 2 team that I'm a big year 2 head coach guy, and the one I don't think I gave enough love to this offseason of like, if Oklahoma, they're one of those teams that it's not a rebuild. Like they can bounce back pretty quick with the tradition and just everything that they've been. And I was really impressed with them last week. Even if it was a cupcake, they look more like Oklahoma. So give me Oklahoma to win this one big, like a 45 to 17 kind of game.
Not so fast, my friend.
Ooh.
Last year, Oklahoma, Ted Roof is still calling this defense. He's still the DC over here. Also, may I remind you, Chad Morris, Jeff Scott, Tony Elliott, Do you know what coaching tree is really, really foul at the college level right now? It's the Dabo Swinney coaching tree. A lot of Bill Belichick vibes.
He didn't
there.
start with Dabo, though, right? Like, he was at Oklahoma under Stoops before going to Clemson, right?
Yes. He's a Stoops guy.
So, I mean, he's not full Dabo.
He's full Dabo to me. He's full Dabo here, Matt Green. He was with Dabo for a really long. It had to be the perfect job to get Venables. He wouldn't even take Auburn. He had to go to OU, back to OU.
He was full Dabo because he was around there for a long time as the hottest coordinator out there.
People never thought he was going to leave.
Yeah.
You look at it. Last year, they opened 45-13 against UTEP, 33-3 against Kent State. They beat the crap out of Nebraska, 49-14 on the road. Then proceeded to lose to Kansas State, 41-34.
Big 12 champs.
Get blown out the following week by TCU, 55-24.
National runner-up.
Get blown out again, 49-0 to your arch rival Texas.
What, 8-5 team?
Yeah. Barely survive a shootout against Kansas, 52-42. Beat a bad Iowa State team, 27-13 on the road. Lose again at home to Baylor, 38-35. Lose again on the road at West Virginia. Matt Green. They closed the year, of course, by losing on the road at Texas Tech, 51-48. And then, of course, lost to Florida State in their bowl game. What I am saying is, calm it down on the Arkansas State thing. They're bad. Dylan Gabriel looked good. I'm not so quick to believe in this Oklahoma team. I'm not so quick to believe that they have righted the ship. Things are great. All systems go in Norman. I'm going the other way. SMU has their highest rated quarterback ever under center. 4-star kid. He's good. I think he's going to be really fun. Preston Stone. All time. They haven't played this game since 1995 somehow, Matt Green. OU, the best third down team in the country through 1 week. That matters. We'll see if that translates. Oklahoma leads the series 5-1-1 all time. However, Stone looked really good. 3 TDs, 248 yards, 62% completion percentage in that opener. They're awesome. SMU's offense with Rhett Lashley and company has been awesome. SMU's offense with Sonny Dykes, it goes back. They have always been a top 15 FBS scoring team. 5 straight years, Matt Green. 5 straight years. The reason I bring that up, I am not a believer in this Oklahoma defense. I don't care. Arkansas State's horrific. Butch Jones, I don't think, is going to keep his job much longer with the Red Wolves. People have overcorrected way too much in Oklahoma. Oklahoma's going to win this game, but it's going to be a dog fight, and it's going to be high scoring, and it's going to be ugly, and it's going to be, I'm going to say, Oklahoma wins 48-45 with SMU having a real chance to win this game late. SMU's good. This offense is good, and I'm not a believer in this Oklahoma defense at this point. I think Oklahoma's offense will be great all year. Don't believe in the defense. Take SMU in the points every single time. Oklahoma's a 9-3, 8-4 fraud. Get this out of here. I am over the Oklahoma discourse already.
Wow. To be fair, I'm not like super high on Oklahoma. I am definitely taking them to win this game, but I was just impressed with that. I'm not making decisions based on the Arkansas State game, not long-term decisions.
They outscored UTEP and Kent State 100-16 their first 2 weeks last year.
That's a fair point. We shall see, sir. Keeping it moving, a Pac-12, Big 12 matchup, a future Big 10, Big 12 matchup. Oregon at Texas Tech. We got another home dog on our hands, sir. I thought about this one. I looked at Texas Tech and, obviously lost to Wyoming, was triple overtime last week, and that's not how they wanted to start the season. As a little dark horse in the Big 12, a lot of preseason buzz about what Texas Tech could be. 6.5. I look at what this Oregon team did a week ago, and obviously the competition is going to be a little bit better. They scored 81 points. What do they have? 13 drives in that game, 11 touchdowns. They scored on their first 10 drives of the game. I just think this Oregon team is too good. I I think it could be a game. It's going to be like we got a game for 2 quarters or so, 3 quarters maybe, but I think Oregon pulls away. So I think Oregon's this offense is too much. And I think they're going to get enough stops to take care of Texas Tech. Maybe like a 38-21, 38-20 kind of game.
Wow. Here's where I this is my big one. My upset special of the weekend, Matt Green.
Wow.
Everyone's gone way too far on Oregon. Like Oregon just beat the crap out of Portland State, whoever it was.
I think that's who it was.
Great. Great. Do you know who they're not going to beat this week? A pissed off Texas Tech team that, hey, had the balls to schedule Laramie, Wyoming in their opener at night and weirdness. They were up 17-0 early. Remember, they jumped on Wyoming. They looked good out of the gate. Tyler Shook, formerly a big-time recruit for Oregon. Big transfer in this game. 2 mighty transfers with Shook and Bo Nix in this one. I have a hard time seeing a Texas Tech team that I thought was going to go 9-3, 10-2 this year. Starts off 0-2. I think a lot of people sold Texas Tech off where they're like, oh, that's what we get for buying into Joe McGuire in this group. This is a revenge game. Shook was replaced. He wants to get back. This is a home game for Texas Tech. This is their Super Bowl. Oregon at home here? This is a big one. Oregon's top 10 team, CFB playoff team from a lot of people. I think Josh Pate had him in his playoff before the year got started here. He threw for 338 yards last week, 3 touchdowns. I think this offense is very good. I think there's an overcorrection on Oregon. Oregon's not there yet. I think this was the worst case scenario for Oregon right out of the gate, was Texas Tech losing in heartbreaking fashion, throwing the game away really against Wyoming late. I think they bounce back in a major way and they win this game outright. I'm going to say Texas Tech 35, Oregon 31.
Wow. That is a hot take right there, sir. I like the Ducks this year. Just shy of the playoff. I think I picked them to win the Pac-12. We both picked to win the Pac-12, right?
Yes. And they still can. This is a non-conference game.
Of course. Keeping it moving. Another home dog. We got the Wisconsin Badgers going out to Pullman, Washington to face the Cougars, one of the only teams left out in the Pac-12, whatever you want to call the Pac-2. Washington State's a 6.5-point home dog in this one. They won this game a year ago at Wisconsin, 17-14. This is a game I've gone back and forth on. I think I've talked about how much I like Luke Fickell and Tanner Mordecai coming over. Looked a little shaky last week through 2 interceptions, and that's while the team was rushing for 300 yards. He threw 2 interceptions in a game like that. So I feel like year one, I think weird things happen for coaches in year one, not necessarily reflective of how good of coaches they are. The fact that Washington State won this game a year ago and now they're going to be at home versus Wisconsin, I feel like weird things happen in Pullman, Washington. This feels like Washington's going to bring them down in the trench, or Washington State's going to bring them down in the trenches with them. And this feels like it's going to be an ugly, like a 16-13 kind of game. Maybe even Cam Ward goes off and they score a few more points, but I think he's a dangerous quarterback that can make some plays. And I think there's something too kind of going out West Coast, like going on the road this early in the season, this early in Luke Fickell's tenure. I think I'm going to have to take another home dog. I'm going to go with Washington State to beat Wisconsin.
Wow. Back to back. Because the Cougs beat them in Wisconsin last year.
Yeah.
It's a big upset, Matt Green. I like their OC. Their OC, Arbuckle, it's like 26. He's super young, but he was a FCS guy, or I think he was Incarnate Ward, I want to say. I know that's where Cam Ward was. Where did he come from? He was another FCS school, but a lot of FCS guys in Pullman. Cam Ward, a lot of fun.
Maybe an FCS school here in a few years.
Goodness, don't kick them while they're down, Matt Green.
No. I love the Cougs. Just picked them to win this game.
I can't go there, though.
We're just flapping our gums.
Wisconsin, I think they're going to be much more equipped for this one. They're running the air raid, too. This is weirdly going to be a similar style kind of game, which is the antithesis of what we saw last year, where I remember Braylon Allen and the Clemson transfer running back that I cannot remember his name off the top of my head, the smaller back. They were alternating and stuff like that. You're not going to see that ground and pound style here on Saturday.
They ran for 300 yards in week 1.
What I'm saying is Tanner Mordecai is going to open up. I think they're going to have to score. I think they're going to have to throw the ball around in this one and make stuff happen through the air. And I think they will. I think this is going to be one where you look at it and you're like, is this really 42-39 late in this one? And it's like Wisconsin, Wazoo. It's just going to take some time for us to get used to high-scoring Wisconsin and fun offense Wisconsin. I think they have more dudes. I think they bounce back this year. They don't lose 2 straight to the Cougs in this series. Give me Wisconsin to win and cover. Give me Wisconsin 45, Washington State 35.
Put it on the board. And our last one on our slate, 10:30 Eastern Time kickoff. I love it because you got a game I'm interested in this late. I just hope I can make it all the way through. 10:30. That's a long day of college football, but hopefully I can power through.
Do you think you're gonna make it?
UCLA, Coastal Carolina. I didn't make it all the way through that one last week, and I was low key interested in that one. It was a pretty good game.
There was no chance. That was the easiest bet. I told a buddy last week, I was like, if there's one game you want to put the mortgage on, UCLA is not losing at home to Tim Beck and a new non-spread weird wishbone offense with Grayson McCall and company. Never was going to happen.
Of course, but the spread always makes it a little more interesting. But with that said, Auburn going on the road to face the Cal Bears. And the Cal Bears are a 6.5 point home dog. Again, we got another home dog in the house. Cal Bears had 300 yards rushing and 300 yards passing in week 1. You know, do with that what you will. Auburn also faced what we can reasonably call the worst team in FBS, right? The worst program in FCS or in FBS, the UMass Minutemen. I think they have 4 wins in the last 5 seasons or something like that. So UMass is terrible. Auburn, Auburn, I'm still not sold on Peyton Thorne. I just don't know what to make of this team. Like, as much as I trust Hugh Freeze, I just don't know what Hugh Freeze inherited. And also listening to Hugh Freeze this week talk about their decision to go, like, their travel, like his worries about the travel schedule, and like I guess they're flying out on Thursday. But in this interview, he's like, but I guess since it was a 10:30 kickoff, I wish we'd be flying out on Friday. Like, when did you learn about the 10:30 kickoff? Did you not already know about this? So it's weird for him to say something that, like, oh, maybe it wasn't a good idea to fly in on Thursday. Maybe you should have flown in on Friday morning. I don't know. But the fact that he's already laying something out like that, maybe he's just... Is he preparing for his team to get upset? Like, this is why? Because we had to travel all the way across the country? I don't know. I feel like Auburn could this be a Georgia Notre Dame situation? Can Auburn go out West Coast and just invade Cal Stadium? Could we see a takeover? That would be an interesting element to this. But Cal's been a pretty bad team in recent years. But I am going to, I think I'm going to go out on a limb on this one. I feel like there's something to traveling all the way to the West Coast. I don't know, your body, time, all of that. Not really knowing about this Auburn team. It's at least like a Graham Mertz kind of situation of like Peyton Thorne he's a new quarterback for Auburn, but he has started in hostile environments. Like Cal is not going to be like a stadium that he's rattled in or anything like that. But I'm not sold on this Auburn team yet. So I think it's going to be a bad look for the SEC losing all these Power 5 matchups, but give me the Cal Bears to somehow pull off the win, like a 20-17, maybe not pretty, but I think they get it done.
Wow. This would be the biggest win for Cal in how long?
Oh, that was the other stat I had for you. They got 3 straight wins over the SEC. A current 3-game winning streak over the SEC. They've They played Ole Miss home and home 2017, 2019, and then beat Tennessee. Was it 2007? With Deshaun Jackson had that ridiculous punt return. And then the time before that, the other leg of the home and home, Tennessee beat Cal. But they are currently on a 3-game winning streak dating back to 2007. Take that for what it's worth.
Interesting. I hate Peyton Thorne at number 1. He's not a number 1 guy.
Oh, great call. Great call. On top of in addition to our uni watch type of talk, can't stand Peyton Thorne at number 1. He is not number 1 material.
No, he's a number 18. Number 12, he's not a number 1. It doesn't look right. That's a good call. It looks very out of place. He also knew Sam Jackson forever, the quarterback for Cal. He spent a lot of time with one another when they were being recruited and stuff. It's a pretty interesting story. It was on 247 Sports I read the other day. So there's a lot of similarity there. Robbie Ashford's going to play, and we saw him play a little bit, so I think that's just part of it, that they're just going to have Robbie Ashford packages that will be interesting. But I'm not there in terms of Auburn losing this game. I do think Cal covers. I think this is going to be a sneaky great game. You should watch it. If you're up that late, I would highly encourage you to do so. I'm not quite there. I think this Cal team may be overachieved a little bit last year. I like Sam Jackson a lot, though. It's kind of weird that Cal actually has a really fun offense for the first time in a long time. But I'm going to say Auburn snakes their way through this one and wins. I think this is really fun. Another high-scoring one, not a lot of defense. I'll say Auburn 38, Cal 35.
All right, put it on the board. Oh, man, I just realized, tallying up all of our picks here, I skipped one of our games.
Oh, I already know. I was going to bring it up. I was waiting for you to finish all these.
Yeah, this was a low-key game of the week here. One of the games I'm most interested in on the week. I'm glad I caught myself. Texas A&M Aggies.
I already know. Yeah.
Texas A&M Aggies going on the road. Miami, 4.5-point home dog. Another home dog. And they're just trying to get whoever they can to come to this game. A little BOGO action to get the Miami students at this game. How do you see this game going?
Well, we saw A&M, and that looked like a Vi Petrino type offense in week 1. It looked like this A&M offense is going to be fun. Connor Wegman looked really, really good at he had 6 TDs. He passed all over him in this one. I'm very, very excited to see how this game looks. I think Miami's offense looks a lot better than we thought it was going to be. 2 coordinator changes in offense and defense this offseason. So that's a big one. I think the Miami defense is kind of going to be a little bit stingy here. I think this is going to be closer than people think. I think this will be a fun game. Excited for this one in a major way. But I had A&M win the title. 6th in the SEC in passing offense. We didn't think that was going to be a possibility before the year. 4th in passing defense. They have talent everywhere. They're just an elite, put-together team. More talent. I think they're better coached across the board. Miami, though, they are still 21st in total defense through the first week of the season. So I think the defense is sneaky good, and I think they're going to cause some problems for Connor Wegman and company early. But I like this A&M team a lot, and I think they're going to survive on the road at Miami. Give me A&M 28, Miami 24.
So that's 4.5. So are you taking Miami?
I'm taking Miami to cover, A&M to win.
All right. Hot take for you for this game. The announcers are going to comment on how many Texas A&M fans are at this game. I think it's going to be noticeable. Not saying they turn this into an A&M home game, but I think it's going to be noticeable that how big the Texas A&M portion of the stadium is. So I think A&M's just a better team. I'm not sold on Miami right now. This was an ugly game between these two teams a year ago. Both of them, I guess, played good defense for what it's worth. I think both these offenses were just awful a year ago. But I just think A&M's significantly improved, and I don't know that Miami is. So I think with the playmakers A&M's got, I think they win this game like fairly easily. I think this is like a 31, like, I don't know, 14 type of game. Like I think A&M takes care of business in this one.
Okay, I like it. Also, I've sold all my Miami stock with Tyler Van Dyne being trademarked by Tyler Van Dyke. Can't do it. Tyler Van Dyke's been sneaky, maybe bad for the last year and a half. Like, can you put together like a month stretch of quality play?
Him and Brennan Armstrong, man. It's like the 2021 versions of those guys looked really good.
Yeah.
And if they can get back to that, those teams can be a lot better. But it remains to be seen.
Tyler Van Dyne, though. Whew.
That's what did it for you. Now you're selling it.
I can't stand it. Like it's cringe. Too cringe for me, Matt Green.
I hear you. That's where you draw the line.
I don't like it. Bad omen there. Well, Matt Green, there we go. Week 2, we had a lot of disagreements here.
Yeah, there's a lot of this should be a real interesting week for the standings here. A lot of upset picks, honestly, by both of us this week. So we shall see. I think I've picked more. I'd have to count how many underdogs I picked, including Road Dog with the Texas Longhorns. So we'll see. I might dig myself into a hole, or or one of us might be in a hole after this week.
Okay, I like it. Matt Green, always a pleasure, and I'll talk to you Sunday night.
Yes, sir.